So you just beat Fader and you think you're done with Valheim, right? Not true. To truly complete Valheim, you need to collect the game's 55 trophies from its various creatures. Today, I'll walk you through each biome, sharing with you how and where to get each one, including 4 of which I consider to be the rarest and hardest to acquire. The Meadows kicks things off with 4 trophies to collect. Surprisingly though, the first creature you encounter, the Greyling, is one of the few exceptions without a trophy drop. In fact, the first you will likely acquire is the Boar with a 15% drop rate. Weirdly, this is the only trophy in Valheim with exactly this drop chance. Considering their abundance, you shouldn't have any trouble with this one. Second is the Deer, dropping half the time at 50%, of which you will need many to both summon the biome's boss and craft the powerful Stag Breaker two-handed hammer. It's worth noting here that on your journey, you may see single and 2-star versions of many of the game's creatures. While this makes them more difficult to beat, more stars does not equate to a higher drop chance. Third is the most difficult trophy to find in the Meadows in the Neck with a mere 5% drop rate. 5% is the lowest of any trophy in Valheim, but fortunately, Neck populations are high along the coast, and with some patience, you should be able to get this one. Other 5% trophy drops covered later in this video won't come as easy. Lastly is Eikthyr, which like all other bosses and mini-bosses have a 100% drop rate. Defeat them once and you're guaranteed their trophy. Keep in mind, should you want multiple boss trophies, you can always resummon and defeat them, assuming you have the resources to do so. In this case, 2 more Deer trophies will do. Transitioning to the Black Forest, you will find 8 trophies to chase down, beginning with the plentiful Grey Dwarf with a slight drop chance of 5%. Despite the low drop rate, it's far from the most difficult Black Forest trophy to acquire. Second and third are the greater of the Grey Dwarf clan in the Brute and Shaman, each with 10% drop rates. Your best bet for finding these creatures will be at night, where they become common spawns in the Black Forest, but also in the Meadows after defeating the Elder. Otherwise, Shaman can be found at small ruins such as these during the day, and both Shaman and Brute also spawn rarely from nests 24/7. Fourth are Skeleton with a 10% drop rate, and what I believe to be one of the easier trophies to acquire, with Skeleton being common in burial chambers in addition to future biomes. Fortunate too, as you will need 4 of them in the Mistlands to craft the Dead Razor staff. Maybe unsurprising, but the Ghosts, also found occasionally in chambers, do not have any drops, including a trophy. Fifth is the Troll, while scary, has a very high drop rate of 50%, and therefore shouldn't cause much of a headache to get your hands on. Sixth, and what I believe is most difficult to find, is the Rancid Remains. It does have a 10% drop rate, but with the creature being uncommon, the trophy can be hard to find. These are rare spawns in burial chambers, and you can often clear an entire Black Forest and never encounter one. Alternatively, and maybe your best chance to get this trophy is from raids. Both the Skeleton Surprise and She's Hot on Your Tail will continuously spawn Rancid for the duration of the event. Keep in mind, however, the Skeleton Surprise can only occur after you defeat Bone Mass, and She's Hot on Your Tail after returning the brass chest to Hildir. In general, raids can be good ways to farm trophies if you're lucky to get the raid containing the creature you need. Funny enough, the brass chest of course is from the same creature, dropping the 7th trophy for this biome and first of Valheim's mini-bosses in Brenna. After finding Hildir and interacting with her map, navigate to one of the smoldering tombs and slay her. Like bosses, mini-bosses have a 100% drop rate, so her trophy will be simple to acquire. And lastly, the Elder, after summoning with 3 ancient seeds, again with a perfect drop rate. The ocean has only a single trophy from its sole creature in the Serpent that fortunately drops 1/3 of the time. To find a serpent, you will need to sail the ocean during either night or a rainstorm. Keep in mind, their trophies will sink, so it's best to lure them to the coast first before slaying them for their decoration. The biome containing the first of the 4 most difficult trophies to acquire is the Swamp, with it and 8 other trophies beginning with the 10% drop rate Draugr. Second is the Blob trophy with another 10% drop rate. Do note, however, that while the Oozer does not have a trophy of its own, when defeated, will spawn 2 blobs, each with their own 10% chance to yield their trophy. Third are Leeches for again a 10% chance. Fourth are Surtling, which can be a difficult one to find with its mere 5% drop chance, combined with the requirement for a Flame Geyser responsible for their spawn. That said, with a Fire Pit found, Certling will continuously spawn every 5 minutes, leading to an easy farm for their badass trophy. Fifth is a super cool one in the Abomination. Like the troll before it, while menacing and scary, you shouldn't need to tackle many of these as the A-bomb will drop its trophy 50% of the time. Sixth, and one of the most uncommon swamp creatures, is the Draugr Elite. Combine its elusivity with its marginal 10% drop rate, and this one can be time consuming to find. Keep an eye out for the wells in the swamp, as Elite can commonly spawn within them, otherwise post up around body piles, either inside sunken crypts or in the swamp's overworld for a chance at an Elite spawn. While looking awesome, this trophy is worth the farm as it's also required for crafting the biome's Iron Sledgehammer. Seventh, the newest trophy to Valheim is from Kvaster, a broom found inside the Bog Witch's hut that functions similarly to a mini-boss, dropping its trophy 100% of the time. If you do want multiple for your collection, Kvaster will respawn after 1 hour to be farmed once more for its trophy. And eighth, a top 3 most difficult trophy to find, but easily my personal favorite, is the Wraith trophy. It both has the game's lowest drop rate of 5% and is also a very rare creature spawn. In fact, Wraith primarily only spawn at night. Keep your eyes up as they often spend their time floating high amongst the trees. Alternatively, they can spawn rarely at abandoned cottages, and since the recent Bogwitch update, now spawn during the brand new Ghost Raid, which can occur following the defeat of Bone Mass. Ninth, of course, is from the biome's boss, spawned in with 10 withered bones. The mountain has 8 total trophies, including the second of my top 4 rarest, but before getting to that, you will no doubt be confronted with the overwhelming wolves and a 10% drop rate trophy. In addition to looking great, you will need to get a couple of these to both craft the wolf fur cape and complete your trophy collection. Second are Drake, which like the wolf have a 10% drop rate. You also need this for the handy Drake helmet. Seek out eggs to farm this one, as they function as Drake spawners as long as the egg is not disturbed. Third, as we enter the Frost Caves, you will first be greeted with bats, which are the only mountain critter to not drop a trophy. The Ulv and Cultist, on the other hand, each having 10% drop rates. The Cultist, however, has an additional use and is required to create the hood for the Fenris armor, a must craft for the powerful set bonus it provides. Many players do cite the Cultist trophy as a difficult one to find, despite its 10% drop rate. As an alternative, Cultists do spawn in a raid following the delivery of the silver chest to Hildir, as I'll touch on further in a moment. Fourth, and exclusive to the mountains after dark, is the Fenring, dropping 10% of the time. Alternatively, Fenring will spawn during the Geirhoffa raid, added to your raid pool after returning his chest to Hildir. Fifth, and extraordinarily rare, is the Stone Golem trophy and its tiny drop rate of 5%. These behemoths are not the most common across the mountains and are an absolute pain in the butt to kill. It's worth it though, as it makes for one of the best decorations the game has to offer, and is unique in that unlike all other trophies, is intended to be mounted on a horizontal stand instead of vertical. 6 is the second of Hildir's mini-bosses in Geirhoffa, found in any one of the Howling Caverns, placed on your map again with a 100% drop chance. And 7th, Moder, who is summoned following the placement of 3 dragon eggs, will deliver you her trophy 100% of the time. Charging into the plains, there will be 9 to find, quickly encountering the first in the infamous Desquito and its 5% of the time dropping trophy. Believe it or not, when Valheim first released, this trophy had only a 1% drop rate, meaning you had to kill 100 on average to get it. Fortunately, this was changed to a more modest 5 and should not be too difficult to get considering the volume of them across the grasslands. Second is the Grazing Locks, offering its decoration 10% of the time. 3 through 5 are the Wider Fueling Gang, with both the base and shaman each having a 10% drop rate, while the Berserker a mere 5%. While not one of my top 4 most elusive trophies, if I had to pick a 5th, this one might just be it. 6th is the Growth, as another creature dropping its trophy 10% of the time. 7th and kind of 8th is one of the weirder ones from the 3rd Hildir mini-boss. Zil and Thunger, found at the base of a sealed tower, must both be defeated with each dropping their own trophies again 100% of the time. And 8th from Yagluth, who is summoned by 5 Fueling Totems and always drops his trophy. The Mistlands surprisingly only contains 7 trophies to collect, but has the densest concentration of 5% drop rate trophies, including the 3rd most difficult trophy to acquire, but you'll typically start the biome with the Hare. Hares can be tricky to get, and with such a low drop rate, you will need to hunt many. Try using ooze bombs early until you craft the Staff of Embers. Second are the Seeker, with the only creature in the biome to drop 1/10 of the time. Third is the giant blimp-like Yawl, which fortunately has a 30% drop rate, so you won't have to deal with too many of these. Fourth, and an offspring of the Yawl, are Ticks, which unlike their parent, have a measly 5% drop chance. That said, you will find these frequently among skeletal remains, infested mines, and from the aforementioned Yawl. Seeker Brood, also found in infested mines, are the sole Mistlands creature without a trophy. Fifth, and it pains me to say this, but the friendly and protective Devagar. Unfortunately, you will need to betray them to acquire their trophy, dropping only 5% of the time. Sixth, and what I believe to be a top 4 most difficult trophy to acquire, is the Seeker Soldier, dropping at a rate of 5%. Combine the low rate with how uncommon the creature is, and you will have a difficult time completing your collection. Seventh, of course, is the Queen, which again drops 100% of the time after using a Seal Breaker to enter her Citadel. Many folks do miss this, but just like any other boss, there is an altar within her Citadel that you can use to resummon her if you want multiple instances of her trophy. Alas, you will need an alarming 3 Seeker Soldier trophies to do so. The Ashlands contains another 9 trophies, including perhaps the hardest to obtain in all Valheim, but first, you will have to seize the 33% dropping from the Ashlands Protector, the Bone Moss Serpent. Like the oceans, their trophy will sink, so once again, lure them to the coast before slaying. Second are the first 3 of the Charred Clan in Warrior and Marksman, dropping their trophies 5% of the time, while the Twitcher is without a drop. Lava Blobs 2 join the Twitcher as the second Ashlands mob without a trophy. Third and fourth, the Flailing Vulture and Aspen, both at 10%. Fifth and sixth are the uncommon Morgan and Valkyrie at 5%. While they are uncommon with low drop rates, I still find them frequent enough where their trophies are not a problem. Morgan 2 can reliably be found inside putrid holes if set on hunting them. And before the game's most difficult trophy to acquire, we have Fader, who when summoned by setting and ringing 3 bells, can be slain with certainty for his trophy. Weirdly, the mini-boss of this biome, Lord Rito, does not have a trophy drop. I hope this changes in the future. Lastly, exclusive to either Charred Fortresses or the Elite Monuments of Torment at mysterious locations are the Charred Warlock and their trophy, dropping again an elusive 5%. To ensure you get their trophy, leave an effigy of Malice inside a fortress or monument alive, as each have a small chance to spawn a Warlock. Otherwise, this rate, combined with a finite number of Warlock on any given map, makes it one of, if not, the rarest trophies in Valheim. And speaking of rare, I found the rarest items in Valheim in this video right here.